Thanks for joining me. In this video, we are going to learn through a channeled message how to establish balance and stability in chaos. And before I begin with the message, I wanted to explain a visual or a vision that I received, and then I received the message. So in this visual, I was looking at the soil and I could see way below the surface of the soil. So I could see the layers of dirt. Then I could see the layer of grass. And then, of course, the blue sky or the ground above. And I'm looking at the deep soil in the deep layers. And I see this pillar of light. And the pillar was shaped, like a, kind of a square rectangle, and then at the tip top it had a point. So in the dark of the soil, I see this brilliant, long pillar of light emerging from deep in the soil. And as it's coming up, going through the layers of the soil, I see the ground around it the soil layers are starting to shake from the movement of this light. And I'm watching what happens when the pointed part of the pillar breaks through the surface and starts to go further up into the above the ground. And as it breaks through the surface, it was sort of like what an earthquake would be like, where the earth around it starts to crumble. It starts to break apart, like it was like shaking and starting to break apart. And as it's coming through, you could tell this light was so powerful and popping through. The ground is shaking, the earth is starting to break apart. And I'm watching as this brilliant, beautiful column of light emerges higher and higher and higher. And I'm recognizing at the very same time, both things are happening. The earth is crumbling and it's starting to feel the effects of this light coming through. And the light is unaffected by the earth moving. It's staying stable and, lit up and kind of having a power, but not an overwhelming power, not a destructive power, but a power of light, basically. And that was the end of the vision. And then I received a message, and I want to share this message with you. It actually has an exercise or a visual that we can use when we feel the ground below us shaking, our foundations are shaking. And we are looking for that feeling of balance and stability while the ground is shaking. And that's a little bit difficult to do. And maybe some of us are feeling this, whether we're looking at the world at large or we're having some changes in our personal life or we're trying to weather some storms of change. So I'm going to share my screen so you can read along if you're looking at the video, or you can just listen to the video or listen to my words and share this message with you. So I am going to be doing a series of videos with this theme of how to weather the storms of change, because that is where we are right now. And I think that all the messages I've received are so helpful to me. And I thought, you know what, I really need to get on and start making videos so I can share these with other people so they can benefit too. All right, so I'm going to go right into the message. So let me share my screen here. Give me one moment. And let me share my screen. Okay. So if you can read this, or I will read it out loud, and then I'm going to comment a little bit on it. So the message from my guides. Today's teaching is about peace and power. We ask you to capitalize the words peace and power to signify their authority as a determining factor for reestablishing balance and stability amidst chaos and uncertainty. We are showing our channel a vision of a pillar of light emerging from deep within the ground as a symbol of what is causing the unrest you feel collectively and personally. Establishing cause is essential to accepting a remedy to the upheaval of foundations that have held your systems in place. These foundations have been held in place not for the betterment of all, but for the purpose of this moment when real change can occur. When you change a structure from the foundation, you build something that will last. When you keep the foundation that is made from bricks of distorted, weak energies and only change the walls, the building might look different, but it will eventually show cracks and the mortar will crumble into dust. Peace and power are the energies you long for. The good news is that what you desire most are the elements that build a world you want to experience. You are architects with amazing design skills, yet many prefer to pick out window dressings and color schemes rather than focus on creating a strong foundation that will sustain ground shifts and high winds. Consider the energies of peace and power. Peace is more understandable than power. In your world, power has become synonymous with disempowering others to gain control. Power, in its purest energy, is all-encompassing empowerment that lifts everyone up together equally without overpowering through unhealed wounds that become force and control. Can you imagine feeling peace and power simultaneously? If you struggle, it is only because you misunderstand and have mistaken your experience of being overpowered and controlled with true power. True power is flow. We are showing our channel a visual of a flood. As you stand in your power, it releases vibrationally into the scene, and the waters recede, the people stand up and walk into their homes, and all is well. In this visual display, you believe power is the force that is moving the waters to destroy and cause harm. True power is what allows all things to be restored to their natural state. Consider the sun as a natural energy source to power your world. When harnessed and directed, the sun energy can light up your world. When you stand in the power of sun energy, you feel peaceful. This visual of being basked in sunlight and feeling peaceful is helpful to imagine feeling peace and power simultaneously. We ask you to use this visual today to feel balanced and stable. Focus inward and then look outward. You may have to visualize this image every 5 minutes. When your body feels off balance, your mind is racing into catastrophic images, and your heart is hurting. Acknowledge what and where you feel the destabilizing energy, and then visualize basking in the sun's powerful energy. Allow this energy to permeate everything you see and every aspect of your body and mind. Accepting your current experience and disengaging from old patterns of response by using this visual will help you weather the storms of change. Okay. Wow. That was a powerful message. And I encourage you to rewatch or re-listen to that message. I have been doing that quite often, and it has been very, very helpful to give me a real exercise or something I can really do to engage that source energy at the same time. I feel like the ground below me is shaking, and the uncertainty and the destabilization can be overwhelming. And there is something in this message that I feel is really important to point out, and how it explains the cause of what we are experiencing. And using the flood is a really good example of that. But in the beginning of the message, it talks about when you understand the cause, you understand what's really happening, and you don't get lost in the feeling like power is really destruction. And the cause of these foundations shifting and crumbling is the light. So that is an interesting, I go back to the visual. That's an interesting and helpful reminder. Imagine that whenever you feel something is unstable, uncertain, the first reaction and response is usually fear, and then fighting against or grabbing onto a twig, to help you because you think that the destabilizing energy is more powerful and it's here to destroy. When we imagine that the storms of change are resulting in the change that we really want to see, that the light is so powerful, and as it's coming through each of us and we become more consciously aware of this light, this inner light, the outer light, the light that's everywhere all around us, the old foundations cannot stand because they're based on this idea of control. But even the control in this message was shown to us that that's due to unhealed wounds, that judging the overpowering control and what's happening with, let's say, the weak and the vulnerable versus those that seem to have the power, that power that they're exercising is because there is a weakness within the systems, and then all of us who are engaging in the systems from this unhealed wound. And the unhealed wound is basically the separation from who they really are. I mean, that is the bottom line of everything that we see, then that is unkind or unloving. And the way that we can understand the shifts that are going on, that this is about transitioning to a world of light. And during the transition or the storms of change, we are going to feel these foundations and these systems start to break apart. But what we are creating is this pillar of light in the world, and the world to become light. And that is very, very helpful to remind ourselves during these times of what is really, really going on. And then we have a beautiful way of something we can actually do in those moments. And I love the visual of the sunlight. I use it a lot. And it's again, a wonderful way to simultaneously feel peace and power, but not the kind of power we're used to, the kind of power that comes from the source energy. So I'll leave it at that, and there'll be other videos that I'll be posting of other messages that I received. And I hope this was very helpful to you the way it was helpful to me. Thanks so much for listening.